excited for this next session we have right now. It's giving Salesforce, y'all. We're going to learn a little bit more about making a difference in tech through tech. Say hi in the chat. Give us some emojis. We have Carlos Villalpando here today. And Carlos is the successful architect director at Salesforce and has been working on IT strategy for the last couple of years, architecting, developing, and re engineering processes to make them efficient and aligned with the business that they serve. He truly believes that IT is a tool for the business and it should flex to the needs of it and not the other way around. It is extremely easy for an IT solution to force the business to adapt, but it has to be the other way around. Y'all, with that being said, give it up for Carlos. I want to see the emojis, please. Let's see it.
Hey, thank you for that introduction, that kind of introduction. Again, I'll repeat my name. I actually want to give you my whole name once, and we'll see who remembers it at the end of the presentation. My whole name is Jose Carlos Alberto Villalpando Lizárraga, or like a lot of my coworkers know me, like just by Carlos Villalpando. So I'm the success director for Net Zero Cloud here at Salesforce. Been in tech for 20 something years. I'm getting older than dirt. I joke that with my kids that my first computer was an Abacus. I don't know if I'm that old, but getting there. And today we're gonna just talk to you about making difference through tech, right? So with that, we'll start with the presentation. Now, I have to, because our legal team always asks us to, every time that we present, to put this slide. Today, I don't think that I'm going to be talking about any products, but again, this is just a legal requirement that if I were to talk about any products today, and if I were to mention any future things, and if you were going to buy anything from our company, make sure that you're making your decisions based on what we have available and not what I could be talking the day of today. But with that, I want to first start with thanking you for taking the time to come and chat with us, to have this conversation, to see how tech can make a better world. Like it was said in my introduction, I started early, and at the beginning, technology was trying to wag it was the tail that was trying to wag the dog, and I think that now has to be that a little bit different. So first, I'm going to walk you through who I am, how do I get here, and then making a connection into work, what makes me tick, and then finally to the actual question of the presentation today of making change through tech. So a quick journey through a fail, sometimes I put a question mark in there, geek journey. When I was a kid and I started getting into actually having to work, I thought that I wanted to be a geek. Like I really wanted to be a geek. And then, well, I'll walk you through the journey. First couple things that I started making as a professional career, I was a dog breeder. If you have watched Best in Show, that's not a funny movie. That's an actual documentary. I can point you in that movie who of those characters behaved like friends of mine of early in my career. So I did that for a while. I bred dogs, showed with them up and down the country in Mexico, even travel internationally. From there, like I mentioned, I really wanted to get back into tech. So I tried to be a developer, and I was a bad one. I mean, I could code, but my code was sucky. There was always people that was better than me on coding. So we tried for that for a while. I have loved education. I have loved to teach people, to show what I know, and to just spread little knowledge that I can have in my head. So eventually I became a high school teacher. I taught computer science for a number of years in a high school. Loved it. And it was a good part of my career. So from there, eventually we became a network administrator for a school district here in Minnesota, the Warriors of West St. Paul in Minnesota. And that was also an interesting part of my career, right? We tried to go back to our geekiness at the beginning, being a network administrator, being this, being that. Long story short, we tried a lot of stuff and nothing was really clicking. I mean, any geekiness that I was trying, it was just okay. Not that good, but just okay. From there, we moved back to the private sector. We work for a company that is called Fidelity National. Most likely, if you have a mortgage, these people have been involved on it. We were the support manager. Interesting part, we spent long days just getting yelled by both our internal users or external users. If you are a support manager or if you have been doing support work and you're in this chat, my heart goes to you. It's a very, very, very tough life to be there. Eventually, we started clicking that being a geek wasn't really working. We had tried being a developer, network administrator, support manager. So the geeking wasn't geeking. And eventually we realized that we could talk to humans, that we were able to translate technology into human back and forth. So we start focusing on that, still within technology, but more to be able to actually talk to people and not just focus on actually wrenching and doing things with our hands. So we became the VP of technology for a marketing research company here in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. And from there, that's when I discovered Salesforce, and my professional career completely changed, right? We adopted the company, we adopted the ecosystem. We went just head first into a completely area of technology that I didn't know. Eventually, we became an employee. I joined Salesforce as the director of success education. We were working with higher education at the beginning and later with all education institutions, just not in the US, but across the globe. It was really cool to actually be able to join things that I like in a lot of places. This is where first I started realizing that I could do good through technology and not just making money through technology. Then the last 2 years, I've been the director of customer success for Net Zero Cloud, which is our product on ESG, carbon accounting, governance, social, a lot of very, very important things that company has to do now. So this is a little bit of my journey. Now let's talk a little bit of what motivates me, what makes Carlos tick. And there probably a list a lot longer than what I have on the screen, but this actually probably encompasses or boils down what is really, really, really important. And I like to say sometimes this is how I got here and who I am. Probably at the top of the list, innovation. It's probably something that has moved me both at the personal side and in more importantly at the career side, right? I joke, not really, that if you say to me, I have always done it like that, that's close to a swear. I don't care for that, right? If we always were behaving and always done it like that, we will not advance. So I have a not too much fondness of situations where we get into always done it like that. I don't like it. I always like to color just outside the line, right? Just into that area where if you go a little bit farther, you'll get in trouble, but a little bit there so we can start actually pushing the envelope in, going back to my previous point, having some innovation. Carrots and sticks do not work for me. If you try to coin operate me, if you try to work with me on an if-then situation, I just don't thrive. And this is, there are a lot of places on our industry and technology that they behave like that. What do I mean by cone operated, by carrot stick is, well, if you stay in your desk for 3 hours, you get a gold star on your forehead. There are a lot of situations like that. It just doesn't work with me, right? I have always liked to have challenges ahead. If I feel that I have mastered whatever subject we're talking about, then I'm not content anymore. I always like to have something in front of me that I want to figure it out. And it's not just in tech, it's in the personal life, right? The last couple of years, I decided, well, I don't know still why, that I wanted to learn Portuguese. And we started going that direction, right? We decided that we wanted to learn how to mountain bike, even though that I have road bike for a number of years, we went into that direction. And in tech, still, even though that I'm a bad geek, from time to time, we returned the other day to trying to figure out, can I figure out how to write a piece of code in Python to utilize AI? So I always like to have a challenge in ahead. And then finally, probably as I get older, the most important of this list is just, I want to leave the world better than I found it. I have 2 kids. I have a 13 and an 11-year-old. And I get weepy when I talk about them and in this subject. I just want to make sure that if I leave tomorrow, this planet, there's something for them to actually be better than when I was here, right? So now, before we go further in our conversation, I'm gonna take a quick detour that this resonates with me, resonates a little bit with the chat. I think that we start making some connections here. Uh, I wanna read you a definition because the last probably 10 years of my professional career, I've been an architect, a technology architect. And I found this definition one day, and this definition is about an architect, like building buildings architect, but it resonates with me tremendously. And I'm gonna read it verbatim for you, right? It says, I believe the architect must be led a double life, one that is a taste for exploration, being on the edge, an unwillingness to accept things for what they appear. And this is probably the part that really resonates with me. Be a disobedient, transgressive, and even insolent approach, and other is a genuine and not formal gratitude to history and nature and the two contexts in which architecture has its roots. So even though that they're talking about buildings, this defines a lot of who I am and who I've been the last 10 years. It's a really nice definition by Renzo Piano, an Italian architect. So moving from here, what do I look into an employer? Or, like I like to say, and this is a recommendation for everyone here, go and read a book called Drive by Daniel Pink. It has become my work Bible. So the first thing that I'm going to talk to you about a little bit is autonomy. I'm looking for my company that I'm going to be working for. I need autonomy from them. I need them to let me make my own decisions and control my work and how I increase engagements and what is my ownership and what is my creativity. I just need autonomy. You are hiring me for me to do a job for you. Let me figure out how to do it the best for you. I want to be able to have mastery. I told you before that I like to challenge. I like to learn to be the best at something. Let me work towards that goal. I want to be able to master. In this case, I'm learning ESG. I'm learning carbon accounting. It has been super challenging, but it allows me to actually work mastering a new domain. And finally, and this is getting now closer to home to the theme of our chat today, I want to actually be able to have purpose in what I do. I like money. I think that everyone here likes money, but I don't want to do things just to make money. Remember that before I mentioned that I don't like to be coin operated. I want to have a purpose. Well, I want to work for a company that what I do has a purpose in life other than making money. So if you give people autonomy, mastery, and you give them purpose, you're going to be able to attract the best employees and you're going to be able to do fantastic things for this world. So how does life work at Salesforce? So first I told you who I was, what my career path was, what makes me tick, a little bit of how I operate at work. So does it actually match with Salesforce? Well, the first thing that attracted me about Salesforce was these three things. When Mark Benioff created the company 20-something years ago, he created a model that he called the 1-1-1, where at that time was easy because he didn't have anything to give, but he promised that he was going to give 1% of equity of the company, 1% of the product of the company, and probably for me, the most important one is he was going to give 1% of the time of the employees for things to do a better society or a better world. And we live it every single day. Every single day, we live this situation here. When I joined Salesforce through a part of the organization that is called Salesforce.org, which provides CRM technology for communities, for nonprofits and education institutions to help them operate more effectively, to actually raise funds, to build more meaningful relationships with those ones that we serve. So it was the perfect marriage of being able to said that I want to have autonomy, I want to be able to do mastery, and I want to be able to have meaning. Well, working at Salesforce.org at the beginning gave me all that, right? I was able to get into a new challenge. I was able to actually have autonomy on how to do my job. And I have a purpose. I was helping education institutions on how to do that. At some point, I changed roles. I wanted a new challenge. I had somewhat mastered the old ones. And we move into net zero cloud, where now this is actually even a little bit better, right? I was able to drive sustainable and equitable transformation for stakeholders. What does this mean? Well, I'm advising hundreds of companies on their journeys to a sustainable planet. This has been probably maybe the pinnacle of my career. Um, I need to take a 30-second pause. I have an issue outside my door. Can we pause the presentation for 2 seconds? Is that someone from the team here that can jump back in for just 2 seconds? Caleb, thank you, Caleb. I'll be back in 30 seconds. I apologize tremendously. I was telling Caleb the joys of working from home. Give me 30 seconds. I really, really apologize. Be right back.
I love that. Just like, I think that's such a great thing of being like, I just want the world to be a better place for my kids. I hear that though, don't you? That's like emotional, you know what I'm saying? I absolutely love that. Who was it? Oh, okay. So Farty, be careful now. What we were just talking about relationships and making sure that we're like holding everyone accountable and everything. But y'all, that's not the way to network. I promise you that. Yeah, yeah, but it was in all font. Hi. Okay, so what ways would y'all want to make a difference for like whoever's coming after you, or what ways would you want to make a difference? Make education more accessible. Okay. Cool. All right, we're gonna get back with Carlos. I love that. Awesome.
Thank you so much. I apologize about that. I was telling them, like, I need to take someone, open the door and let them in the house. I'm alone here. So anyway, so I have told you who I am, what makes me operate, how do I like to work, what do I like in the company, what I have done recently at work. Now, let me talk to you a little bit about trying to tie it all together. And the point of the chat is, how do we make a better world through tech, right? So I get to work at the best place. I hope to retire from this organization. It's literally one of the best companies to work for. The the way that I like to work is how it happens here every single day, right? And then on top of that, I get to work with the best technology, and I get to make the world a better place. How does that happen? I do it in two things. I'm going to give you two examples. How much time we have, just so I make sure that we're managing our time. If you want to just put it in the chat, or um, 10 minutes. Perfect. This will give us the amount of time to walk you through two examples on how to make a better world through tech after all the things that I've been telling you. The first one, I get to work with companies that really, I never thought that they care. There are a lot of companies out there in the world that sometimes I don't know, I want to say we consider them evil. And yet, some of these organizations are doing things on the ESG space that you would have never thought. They are start to care about the environment. They start caring about their employees. They start caring about their communities that they serve into. And my job allows me to guide them in that journey. Their motivations are all over the place. Some of them are really, truly care on what they're doing, and they know that to be able to have a successful business, they have to care about all those things. And they have to make sure that they take in their employees, then making sure that they're taking of their communities, and they're doing things in the world that they're just not to make money. And my contribution to them is to bring best practices into how to get there, just not through using technology, using your software, using partnerships that we have with other organizations to make sure that those things are happening. So it's super interesting, right, to work. We're working right now with a media company that they want to make sure that their operations are carbon neutral in less than 5 years. And this is a huge investment for them. And they could just not do anything, but they truly believe that this is the right thing to do, because if they don't make their operations carbon neutral, they're not going to have an environment where they can actually operate. So this is my day to day, where I get paid to actually advise these organizations in how to move forward on this path. But probably the one that actually I think that I have, even though that is on a smaller scale, that I have a deeper impact and it gives me a lot of joy, is being able to do pro bono work with nonprofit organizations. I'm going to give you the example of an organization here in Minnesota called We Can Ride. We Can Ride is a nonprofit that does horse therapy for people with disabilities, all kind of disabilities. The majority of them are children, but they also serve adults, right? And they have a very interesting methodology on allowing these humans to get some therapy on their physical disabilities and to make them better, straighten their muscles, give them access to other opportunities. And the interesting part is that using horses and these therapies is it's super interesting, right? And you get to see how sometimes people, when they go through the programs, they change their lives. They get a lot of this program. The organization had a very big challenge in front of them. Their intake forms are extremely hard because they're dealing with medical issues. They're dealing with very specific situations of each one of their clients. It could take up to 4 to 6 weeks for someone to go through the intake process. From the moment that you will fill the first form, by the time that you actually had to go and get medical forms and give certain information and fill amount of questionnaires, it was 6 weeks of back and forth where the client coordinator had to be very involved into each one of these clients. The issue that this was causing to them is that they could not intake or onboard clients as fast as they would like to. So they will have horses ready for people to actually take therapy, but they could not put the clients on the horses because the paperwork wasn't completed. So what we did for them is we created an online system where the clients can self-pace complete this application. And the system actually is guiding the client to each one of the steps, is reminding them that they're missing certain part of the paperwork, is letting them know when did they have to submit certain things. You're not going to believe it, but one of the biggest challenges, sometimes the clients will have to send a video of the person that was going to take the therapy to do some assessment. And it was very difficult before doing that and to send the video back, because now we created a mobile application for them. The client actually can log into the site of this organization. And because all mobiles have a camera now, be very easy to upload that video and have it analyzed by the system and keep them moving that. So what we have created with that is creating a system that, if you remember, Salesforce gives organizations of not-for-profit 1% of our product. They get licenses for free as a donation. Well, they got our time to configure the system to their needs as a donation, as a pro bono work. And the result of this is we reduce 6 weeks of paperwork into days, or actually into hours. So now the client coordinator can focus her time in actually creating more programs, creating more things for her clients, be able to operate better, be able to have more impact, and be able to have more people in the program, right? So at the end of the day, this is probably a very small example on using tech to have an impact into our society and to be able to actually create a change of the world. And maybe in the bigger scheme of things, my impact is very little, but it is a great example for me on how technology can help a very specific use case, right? And especially since I was able to be a very intrinsic part of delivering that. So this brings me to the last point, right? I started walking you through my journey. How do I was trying to be a geek, that morphed into learning how to speak business and geek at the same time. Figured out who I was and what makes me tick, and finding the best company that will operate with me to actually end up in a place where all those check boxes get marked and I can apply the technology of my employer and the time of my employer in conjunction with mine to actually live this planet in a better way. Um, do we have any questions? What else do we want to talk, Caleb or team? We have a question. Considering Salesforce is consistently ranked as one of the best places to work intern, what do you think separates the company culture from other companies? Um, Even though that is not official, the three parts that I mentioned you on Daniel's Pink book, that's a lot of how the company operates with their employees, right? They allow you to have a lot of freedom on how to operate. They're not micromanaging you on your work. They tell you what your expectation is, and you have to figure out how to get there. Most of the roles will give you the opportunity to master something, and then finally, the part probably that is more important for me, you will be able to see an impact on your work, not just on your person, but in the world, right? We were one of the first companies to not mention to the stakeholders, but to not to our shareholders, but to all our stakeholders, not just the people that they are investing in our company, but our communities that we operate, our employees, or partners, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's there's actually we borrow a word from the Hawaiian culture, and we call ourselves an ohana, right? It's which means family, and it gets very close to that with their goods and their bads. But I think that's what makes a difference from other companies. Do we have another one? How do you stay adaptable in the face of rapid, changing technologies and instant threat? Well, if you remember, we always done it like that. It's a bad word. So you always have to be looking what is coming ahead. You cannot just stay stagnant on what you're doing today. You have to be looking 3 meters ahead of you on what is coming. I'll give you an example. I've been tinkering a lot with generative AI. I think that this is the same situation. My mother-in-law is a librarian. When she started in her work, librarians were the gatekeepers of information. You need a research, you need a librarian. My 13-year-old doesn't need a librarian. He has a phone, he has Google on it, and he has access to everything that he wants to do research. I think that Gen AI, and that eventually made librarians change their job to almost disappear. I think that this point with Gen AI is very similar, that the people that figure out how to use Gen AI to do their work faster and better are the ones that they're going to stay ahead of their curve and maybe even get to keep their work. So these two examples is what you need to be looking for. I don't have a recipe. Is the only thing that I can tell you is you need to be looking way forward than what you have in front of you. One more question? Sure. That's an interesting one. A lot of companies put marketing materials out there saying that they care. You just have to go and talk to the communities that they serve. That's actually kind of like a very relatively easy way to see if they really truly care, right? If you can, like in our example, if you can go to a nonprofit and ask them how Salesforce has supported them, if you can go to organizations like Color Stack and say, hey, how Salesforce has supported us, that's how you can spot those companies, right? I think that the market materials are a good spot. Then the second is asking them a question is that, well, can you show me your partnerships and who are you working with? and those are the ones that are actually going to tell you if there is a company that really cares or they're just doing marketing materials. Thank you everyone for the time. What are our next steps, team? Sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, cool. So I believe we have a giveaway question. Let's see. Oh, okay. Okay, ready for the giveaway question? What is one of the three things Carlos looks for in an employee? Oh, sorry, in an employer. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of right answers. Nia Anderson. Nia Anderson got it. Thank you so much, Nia. Congratulations. The Color Stack team will be in contact with you next week to talk about next steps. But for now, give it up for Carlos one more time. Thank you so much. In the emojis, in the chat. Thank you so much. Y'all know you can connect with Carlos if needed. And thank you so much for spending your Friday with us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Yes. All right, y'all. Now we're going to go ahead and transition into 15 minutes of roundtables in the lounge space. So feel free to join the networking or chapter formation tables. And up next at 3 p.m., we are going to have the Color Stack student panel. So very excited for that. I will see y'all at 3.